So the topic is something that we've hit on quite a bit here over the last couple of days, and that is the present and future of Nebraska football. Obviously, on Monday, we talked about Scott Frost being fired, a couple candidates right off the bat. On Tuesday, we talked about what kind of job the Nebraska job is in 2022. And today, I wasn't planning on talking Nebraska for a third straight day, but there was a candidate that was presented by a mainstream college football writer that was so interesting that I knew I had to talk about it here on today's Aaron Torres Sports Podcast. So let's get into it. But before we do, I want to remind you of something that I've talked about here quite a bit here on the Aaron Torres Pod as I've done this over the years. My job, in my opinion, is to do three different things on the Aaron Torres Sports Podcast, okay? My job is to tell you what will happen. I believe that Alabama will beat Texas. I believe Alabama will cover against Texas. Now, I was wrong, but that's what I believe will happen. From there on, my job is also to tell you what I believe could happen. I'm hearing that this coach, he's kind of on the hot seat, and I'm hearing that this recruit might commit here. That's what could happen. And then there's what should happen, okay? What should happen is it's not always necessarily what will happen, but something that should happen. If you remember back to this time last year, or I guess it would have been January of last year, the Dallas Cowboys losing the playoffs, and I say, look, their window is the next year or two because they have a bunch of star players, Micah Parsons, Trevon Diggs on rookie contracts. They need a coach that will bring discipline. What should happen, they should go hire Nick Saban. Pay him $30 million a year, whatever. Go get him. Win a Super Bowl in 2 years. That's Saban's window. Go do it. It wasn't going to happen, but that's what I believe should happen, even though I knew that it wouldn't. Well, this topic right here, this conversation about the alleged Nebraska candidate, or not even a candidate, but a name that they should call. That's exactly what it is. A credible college football reporter brought up a name that Nebraska should call, even if they probably won't. So let's stop beating around the bush, because this is the candidate and this is the context in which it came up. Tuesday morning, I'm scrolling social media. Matt Hayes, very respected, longtime college football writer. He does some stuff for Saturday Down South. I guess Saturday Tradition is kind of a Big Ten, offshoot of Saturday Down South. And he puts out an article with this headline about the Nebraska coaching search. This is the exact headline. It says, "Go big, go bold, Nebraska. Go get Sean Payton." Okay, so here's the deal, right? I know some of you are probably driving around in your car at the gym. You just spit up your coffee. You just spit up your water. You're saying, Torres, you're wasting my time. Why are we even talking Sean Payton? And again, this isn't about something that will happen. But when you read the article by Matt Hayes, Saturday Tradition, longtime college football writer, I actually do think it makes sense. And I do think it makes for some interesting conversation here on the Aaron Torres Sports Podcast. So let's talk about it. The argument that Matt Hayes makes about going and trying to get Sean Payton if you're Nebraska, and again, no one's saying it will happen, but should it happen? Yes. The argument is really twofold, okay? The argument is two things. Here they are. The first one is cold hard cash, okay? It's cold hard cash, and this is the college football world that we live in, where we all know Sean Payton wants to coach again. He said it on Colin Cowherd's show on Monday. Oh, I am coaching again. But here's the thing I don't think a lot of people realize. At this point, the money in college is almost as good, if not better, than the NFL. We talked about it last week. Dabo Swinney, who is coming off his worst season in a decade, or worst season in about 6 or 7 years, just signed a contract that is going to pay him $11 million a year, 10 years, $115 million. He is one of 3 coaches in the last couple months that has become a part of the $11 million club, including Kirby Smart, including Nick Saban. So those are those guys. And then, oh, by the way, you don't even have to be good anymore to make 8, 9, 10 million. Jimbo Fisher's getting paid $9.5 million to lose to App State. Mel Tucker, who I like, who I respect, he's got like 15 career wins, 16 career wins. He's getting paid $9.5 million. So one, the money is there in college football in many ways, more so than in the pro game. And then two, college football in 2022 at the highest level is about being bold, being aggressive, and being fearless, okay? So just think about last year's coaching carousel and what made it so special and what made it so interesting. What made it so special was we saw schools do things that they have never done before and never would have even considered 3-4 years ago. Think about USC. USC has been stuck in this cycle for the last 10, 12, 15, whatever it is since Pete Carroll left. Hire the Pete Carroll assistant, go 9-4, then go 5-7, then crash and burn, then fire the guy. That's what they've been doing for several years now, right? And this time last year, who were the candidates when Clay Helton got fired? Oh, they're going to go get this guy. They're going to get Matt Campbell. Then they went out and got Lincoln freaking Riley, the head coach at Oklahoma. It was inconceivable a year ago to think that the head coach at Oklahoma had never left for another college head coaching job before, and USC convinced Lincoln Riley to do so. LSU, they convinced the winningest coach in Notre Dame football history to leave Notre Dame. Again, it was thought to be inconceivable. Mario Cristobal at Miami, I know he's an alum, but you know how they got Mario Cristobal to leave Oregon? They offered him 10 years and $80 million, and they said, there's only one guy for this job. You're the only candidate. You're the only person that can save this program. Will he? Won't he? We'll discuss that tomorrow because they play Texas A&M this weekend. But Miami was bold. They were fearless. And I think when you take those two things, money and bold, fearless action, that is why I think you have to make a move on Sean Payton, even if you know that he's going to say no. Let me explain. First of all, we know Nebraska has the money. You know how I know Nebraska has the money? Forget all the $75 million, Big Ten TV contract, whatever. That's irrelevant in this conversation. You know how I know Nebraska has money to burn? They just paid an extra $7.5 million to get rid of Scott Frost 3 weeks early, okay? Remember, Scott Frost's buyout was set for, on October 1st, it was cut in half. On October 1st, he was set to have it go from a $15 million buyout to a $7.5 million buyout. By the way, Nebraska has a bye week next week, okay? So it would have literally cost you, it would have saved you $7.5 million to let him coach against Oklahoma and then fire him on midnight of October 1st, ironically, when they have a game, or maybe wait till October 2nd. And Nebraska said, we'll pay the extra $7.5 million to get you out of here right now. Like right now, just pack the office. We don't care. You cannot be our head coach anymore. They paid an extra $7.5 million. So they have money to spend. And that's where I start the conversation with Sean Payton. Where I start the conversation with Sean Payton, I just say, look, you're going to get offered a million jobs in the NFL. Let's just make money not an equation right now. What's a good starting point? 10 years, $120 million? That puts you in the Saban, Kirby Smart, Dabo Swinney category? Do you need a little bit more? Because we want to pay you money, and you've made a ton of money over the course of your NFL career. You were with the Saints for almost 2 decades, whatever it was, 14, 15, 16 years. We know you have more money than you know what to do with, but we're going to make sure that your family's taken care of for generations, and we're going to make sure on day one you're compensated as though you're Nick Saban, as though you're Kirby Smart, as though you're Lincoln Riley, because we believe that's who you are for this program. And then on top of that, I go bold. I go legacy, because if you go back to last year, those 3 big hires that I mentioned, what do they all have in common? It's bold, it's fearless, and it's about legacy. Lincoln Riley, this is what USC sold Lincoln Riley on. LA is the epicenter of the world right now. We have the best baseball team in the world, the most glamorous NBA team. We have a team that's going to win the Super Bowl here or is going to be in Super Bowl contention every year. We just opened a brand new stadium. We have the Olympics coming in 2028. We're going to have World Cup games here coming up when the World Cup comes back to the United States. What we don't have is a college football presence. Come here. This is a city of stars. You will be a star. Your offense will be a star. You're the only person that can do that, Lincoln Riley. And he took the bait. Brian Kelly. It was a legacy play. Brian Kelly, you've been at Notre Dame. You've done everything you can at Notre Dame. You've elevated that program in a way that nobody thought you could. Now come to LSU, where you're going to have every resource imaginable, access to every player imaginable to win a national championship. Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? It doesn't matter. There is no place in America where you will be better set up to win a national championship. By the way, and I'm going fast here because I'm fired up, Mario Cristobal, you can win a national championship at Oregon. It's not going to be the same as coming back to your hometown, coming back to your alma mater, coming back to the U, baby. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'm throwing up the U. It's not going to be the same as doing it at the U, and that's what ultimately sold Mario Cristobal. And so I think if you go to Sean Payton, you say, look, we're going to give you money, more money than you ever know what to do. But beyond that, this is a legacy play. You're already an icon in New Orleans, okay? So if you go back to the NFL, because keep in mind, Sean Payton has said, I plan on coaching again. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year. I'm going back into coaching. You can go back to the NFL, but you're never going to be an icon anywhere the way that you were in New Orleans. In New Orleans, you took a city that was, we all know what happened post Katrina. I don't mean to be morbid or sad or whatever here. You revived an entire city. You brought a Super Bowl to a city and a team that nobody thought it was possible. And then you built one of the great professional football organizations anywhere, okay? No matter what you do, doesn't matter where you go. And by the way, the most likely place, Dallas, they're not firing Mike McCarthy now because Dak got hurt and he's going to have a built-in excuse for this year. And so I bring it up because you can go somewhere else, Mike McCarthy, or Mike, definitely not Mike McCarthy. You can go somewhere else, Sean Payton. You will never be an icon in the NFL the way that you are in New Orleans. So why not come be an icon in college? You come back to Nebraska, you get us competing at the highest level. You get us competing for national championships. Maybe it never happens. You are an icon in a way that you can't imagine. You'll never pay for a meal in New Orleans. You'll never pay for a meal in Nebraska. You will be an icon. You will have statues in New Orleans. You will have statues in Nebraska. Nowhere in the NFL can offer that, and nowhere in college football can do for you what we can do for you. Name me another coach, by the way, that is truly an icon in college and the NFL. Maybe Pete Carroll. Maybe. That's the only one that immediately comes to mind. There's only 3 guys that have won a Super Bowl and a college football national championship. Jimmy Johnson, Barry Switzer, Pete Carroll. Barry Switzer might be sort of an icon in Oklahoma. He is in it with the Dallas Cowboys. I would argue Jimmy Johnson, he was the second coach of 4 to win a national championship at Miami. I don't know if he's an icon there. Sean Payton could be an icon in New Orleans and also in Nebraska as well. And so, again, I'm not saying it would happen, but that would be my pitch to him. We're going to give you more money than you know what to do with, and you can go back to the NFL and you're going to be really good, but come here, become an icon. And oh, by the way, we can start you right away. You can handpick your staff. You have plenty of time to start recruiting. It's not going to happen. I think it's a hell of a sales pitch, though.